Okay, we're just finishing up the last command line 2 video. So I was demonstrating before I ran out of time that we can move files from various different folders into one folder. So we wanted to move all of the files that had a 2 in them, regardless of whether they were a text file or a code file, like a Python file. So in this case, it's handy that we have code and file as both 4 letters. Sometimes that won't always be the case. So what you could do is you could do *2 and then .* or something like that, or another creative way. You can mix these up in different combinations to do what you want the command line to do. So we've piped this together with this little icon here, the vertical line, and we are moving from here, we're moving a 4-letter, some 4 characters, actually it doesn't have to be letters, a 2 and then whatever, from the files1 folder, which is what we're currently in, we're moving that into our file folder directory. Now at the same time, it's also going to move this path. So we're specifying, okay, no, we want you to move files from this folder right here. It's a 4-letter word or 4-character file name, to, and then whatever else. And now we're going to move that, so this is where we're going to pick up again. We're going to move that onto the desktop and file folder. And so that's where we want you to move it to. So these will run simultaneously, and it should move all of the files right into our file folder. So now if we take a look in files1, we no longer have a file2.txt. So let's back out and let's go into our folder directory and let's think, hey, oh, we don't have a code2.py. Okay, back out, and sure enough, guess where we will find them? We will find them in our file folder directory. So this is extremely handy if you're looking through your computer trying to find something, or you have multiple, let's say there may be Excel files located some all the way, all around your computer or whatever. You can do multiple commands using that pipe, what they call the pipe character there. So you can pipe together different commands and just pull everything using one fell swoop. You could also do the same thing for copying. So if you're ever finding yourself copying and pasting files and doing all sorts of stuff, you can go online, look at more commands. There are lots of different things that you can do on the command line. This is just really touching the surface. So go ahead and look into those, and that will end our tutorial on the command line. So, alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to data types, which is what I want to talk about now. So you can get into your text editor, your favorite one. I could use something called Text Wrangler, which for now I will use. Yeah, that seems like it's probably a good idea. Okay, so let's find Text Wrangler. Where did it go? Oh, this. Okay. So here's just a basic text editor. Use your favorite one. I gave you kind of an introduction to Vim and Nano in previous videos, but we'll go ahead and use this for now. So let's go ahead and we will save this on our desktop, and it will be a .py file. So we'll call it data.py. I'll put it on the desktop so you can see it. It's right there. Okay. So now that it's a .py file, you should know that it will recognize this as code, and it will make things nice and pretty for us with lots of colors. So I just wanted to talk about a few data types. So this is a file that discusses data types. Okay, so there are lots of different kinds of data. Python will automatically recognize them for you as long as you type them in correctly. So, for example, if we say A is equal to 1, and let's say that B is equal to 5.0. So this right here is called an integer. And it's just a whole number, and Python treats it as a different thing than other kinds of numbers. For example, this kind of number. It's distinctly different, and actually, why don't I make this even more clear and say 1.0? These numbers are different. Both A and B are different to Python. This one is called a floating point number. Even though numerically for us as humans they have the same value, Python has to treat them differently because it has different functions that it can perform on different data types. So another data type that we'll run into a lot is, let's call this one C equals person. So this is what we would call a string, which doesn't make a ton of sense if you're new to computer science or programming or whatever. But a string is just some sort of text. It's enclosed in these quotation marks, and it indicates this is a bunch of characters that are stored as the value. So the value is the sequence of characters that is right here. A handy thing that we can learn from programming is that we can actually access each one of these individual parts of this string by saying C, and then we're going to use brackets, and inside the brackets we indicate what position we want to see, for example. So let's say print, C, so we want to print the character which the characters start at 0. So let's say we wanted to print the character that is in the second spot. So you'd have to do 2 minus 1 because computers start at 0 and they don't start at 1 like we do. But let's say that we wanted it in the second spot, so we'd say C1. So that says, okay, this P right here, that's the 0 spot, and this is the first spot. So when we run our code, we will actually see that it will print E. So, and why don't we even print something else? Let's do something a little bit more fancy, and let's say with a string, we will say, here is the second character of person. And what's really nice, so this comma, by the way, it will separate these two things with a space. If I did plus, which I could do, it would link them together, but there would not be a space here, and we, for aesthetic reasons, want a space there. So, and you can print multiple things by just continuing to add commas. Another nice feature of Python is it will recognize all of this pink statement on this line as a string, but it will not get confused with these little single quotation marks. In Python, you can also declare a string, so if we wanted this person to be a string, this will actually not change anything. If we did the single quotation marks. As good coding practice, you should probably stick with either one or the other for the things that you want to do, but you can use them interchangeably. So pick one, stick with one, and then you can use the other kind inside. So like if I usually like to use single quotation marks, then if I wanted to use single quotation marks inside of this string, I'd want to put double quotation marks so that Python knows, okay, I know that everything that's inside of the double quotation marks is a string, including these little single quotation marks that are right in here. So this will not be read by Python as something different. Okay, so you have that. Other data types, we have Booleans. So, for example, we could have D equals true, and then E equals false. A Boolean is just either a 1, 0 or a true false type of a character. So this is handy for later on when we're learning about functions and loops and other things like that. We can say, okay, while this condition is true, or we'll tell the computer do this until this statement becomes false somehow, or something goes wrong. We can use Booleans in those kinds of operations. Also, we can use escape characters. So if I wanted to, like for example, put a new line here for whatever reason, like I wanted it to look like that when it prints out, I can do that. Or even better, because that doesn't make a ton of sense, but maybe we want the new line to be here. Let's say, so we can do a backslash and then n. And this backslash will tell Python, okay, the thing that is coming immediately next, it's not a string character that I actually want you to do something with. I want you to, like it's an actual command. It's some sort of it's a special character that I'm putting in. And so that's what you might call the escape character thing. So this is an example of a new line. So new line is backslash n, a tab would be backslash t, and there are other various ones that you can explore later on your own. So then let's go ahead and at the very bottom here, let's go ahead and say print type A. So we'll see that type A is an integer, type B. So the type function in Python basically inquires the variable for each variable what kind of variable it is, what kind of data type it is. So we'll do type A, type B, we can do type C, and we can do type D, and that gives us, well, let's go ahead and just do type E as well. All right. So, oh yeah, and I forgot. This is called a Boolean, or a bool. Bool for short. All right, let's go ahead and save this file, and we're going to go back onto the command line. And let's go ahead and move on to the desktop. And let's go ahead and run the data.py file by typing in Python and data.py. Okay, here's the second character of person. E, notice it put in that new line character. If we didn't want that to happen, we could take that away. But that is one thing that you can do. Okay, and then it prints out all these different types. So type integer. All right, int for short. Type floating point number, or float for short. Type string, or str for short. And then bool and bool. So that's a little bit of the basics on data types.